Everybody who is watching the meeting, you've had the reminder this morning about your phones, and the meeting is being live streamed. And Peter, do you want? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't call you that. Councillor Bentley, would you like to open our meeting with the prayer, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Almighty God, who alone is the leader of all mankind and the fountain of all knowledge, send thy blessing upon us, your servants, this day, as we strive to do all things good for the betterment of the people of Rotorua district. May we be tolerant in ourselves at all times. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And now I call for any apologies. I've got the apologies for Councillor Tapsell and Councillor Sturt if the meeting runs over, because you will be leaving. Are there any further apologies? Yes, yes, we know that, yep. Oh, so, and Councillor Maxwell, if the meeting is still in progress, for leaving. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, carried. Are there any declarations of interest? There appear to be none. Are there any urgent items not on the agenda? There appear to be none. So we now move to recommendation 1, and this is very similar to what we went through with the presentation from Regional Council this morning. It's for us to approve the 2019-2020 Annual Plan Information Consultation Document for public consultation, and it's page 6 in your order paper. Do I have a mover and a seconder that the report approved the 2019-2020 Annual Plan Information Consultation Document for public consultation be received? Moved Councillor Hunt, seconded Councillor Bentley. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Carried. And Una, now if you could take us through the report. I thought it was very interesting this morning to hear from Regional Council, Una, that they're not calling for submissions either. They're going out for points, public input. Thank you, Una.
Okay. Good afternoon and welcome. So the objective of today is to hopefully get your approval for us to publish and open up our community engagement program for the 2019-2020 annual plan preparation. I've just got a few slides to take us through, just to cover off really the review of that, I guess where the annual plan fits in the context of our long-term plan, and then to have a look at the way that we're going out for engagement around this, and mainly the time frame as well. So the annual plan, remember, effectively it is it's looking at year 2 of the long-term plan, and it's that link between the long-term plan year 2 and the annual setting of rates. Very much we've got a long-term plan that was set, and this is the review of that and where that fits in. I've got a little graphic up there just to try and sort of show in the timeline where we are, and if my little pointer works. So this is effectively where we are here. So annual plan year 2, and you'll see that that reflects and mirrors the long-term plan that was adopted back in June. So just up here on the other screen. So this is where we are at, the review of year 2 budget against how that fits in with the original long-term plan that we set. I've already referenced the long-term plan, so remember that was adopted back in June, and that was our action plan of connecting our Vision 2030 to all our work programs and projects. And remember, they were based on 5 quite substantial themes within that plan, of which all of our work programs and our major key projects are linked back to those. So at this point in time, we're sort of 9 months into the delivery of year 1 of the long-term plan, and this then becomes our opportunity to have a look at how we have progressed in year 1 and then what that might mean in going forward into year 2 and how that budget is then shaping up. So this process is the affirmation of that budget and are there any changes or amendments to that budget. So you will recall that we held a couple of workshops in February and in March, and I guess the outcome of those discussions was that agreement that the set direction has not changed. We're still committed to the delivery of our long-term plan. However, there have been some challenges in the delivery of year 1, and we discussed challenges existing around sourcing of external funding, our ongoing commitment to engagement and partnering, the condition of our assets, including, the things that we still don't know, and resource consenting. So those challenges have meant that in some areas, in particular our major capital projects, they haven't advanced as quickly as we would have expected, and really that then flows on to the timing of some of those large capital projects. And we'll come back to that just in a minute or two. So I guess in a nutshell, what does that mean in terms of going out with an annual plan and looking at year 2? The underlying information for this will be made available when the consultation document goes out as well, and those were provided to you yesterday afternoon, I believe. So all of those financial accounts of council, that this slide here shows the summary of that. So just in a snapshot, the rates increase. So our long-term plan year 2 already factored in a 5.1% increase. And remember, that increase there was to ensure that the program of works that we had agreed to could be delivered. We have undertaken some considerable work, and remember there was the conversations from you to us around getting that rates increase to below 5. So we have an average rate increase sitting at 4.9%. The capital projects list, so those major capital projects, the long-term plan had a commitment of projects in the order of 76.2 million. Going back to that slide where we looked at the challenges and we talked about sourcing of external funding and timing in that, this is where you're seeing the timing coming in. So there are a number of carry forwards from this current financial year which will flow into next financial year, and that's where you're seeing that change in the 76.2 million to a proposed capital works program of 89.9 million. In terms of our borrowing, that is reflective of the capital projects as well, and so we anticipated that in year 2 we would borrow 25.6 million. Based on those carry forwards and the addition of the increase in the SHIMPAC funding, we are proposing in the annual plan to borrow 41.4 million. So upon your approval today to go out for consultation, what that will mean is that we will commence an engagement period, and in that we will be sharing information on the progress made to date against the LTP program. But we'll also be testing with the community a proposal which was discussed with you around an alternative method to how wastewater services are managed and delivered. And the engagement document also sets out the introduction of new targeted rates for those residents in the Rotorua area who will be connected to the scheme come 1 July. I'm just going to take a moment here to sort of reflect on the range of consultation because the legislation that we currently work under allows, I guess, for in a year 2 or a year 3, It's dependent on the council and the level of, I guess, change to what the direction was set as to the level of consultation required. And I've done a bit of a scan of other councils and their approaches, and we've got quite a varying degree of councils and how they're undertaking their consultation. We've got right from the do-nothing approach. So these are councils who are absolutely sticking to, I guess, their Year 2 long-term plan, and they've just got information on their website that says, we're developing our annual plan, but if you have a suggestion or a comment, please just fill in this form and send it in to us. We've got other councils that are putting information out, so they're sharing with the community where they're up to in their long-term plan, how they're tracking, what progress is like. We've got other councils who have a combination of information sharing and consultation. So this may be where they've got 1 or 2 new projects that weren't identified in their long-term plan, and they now are seeking support from the community to introduce those projects. Those projects won't be triggering an LTP amendment, so that's why it's classed as an information consultation document. And really that's where, I guess, our plan is sitting at this stage. We have a number of updates and progress and information, and 1 consultation item around the wastewater services. And finally, there's still 1 or 2 councils that have had a significant change to the direction that they had set, which means that their financial strategy needs to be reviewed or updated as a course of that work, and they've gone through an LTP amendment process, which of course means quite a lot more consultation, and it does mean that that process had to have been audited. So this year, in terms of looking at our information/consultation document, it was made available to you at the beginning of this week, and this year we've prepared a digital and interactive document. This will still be supported by a printable PDF version in a document style, and also if you reflect on, I think it's just after the Mayor's message, there's what we call a plan on a page, which will be in a printable version as well, and effectively that is a summary of what this plan is all about and how it fits in with the long-term plan, and that will be made available for you to be able to take out with you when you are having conversations out in the community. It is planned that the engagement document will be made available following approval here on the 15th of April, so that's Monday. And it will be on the Council's website, our Let's Talk platform, available in the library and in the Customer Centre as just a starter. And it's also viewable on the website, a normal PC, your iPad, a laptop or other device. I suppose what we've tried to do here in terms of having a digital and interactive document is to allow people that they can have as much information if they want it. If they just want sort of the highlights, they can get that as well. So also just wanted to touch on opportunities to be heard, because this quite often becomes a sort of a conversation point. And I think it was quite appropriate that the Regional Council have also said that they are not having formal hearings this year. And we haven't had formal hearings in an annual plan process for some time, remembering that we don't have to. And the style and the way that more and more councils are going is that appreciation of face-to-face interactions. So we will be running 2 sort of cafe-style events, and the dates are up there, so the 7th of May and the 9th of May. And I think this is the last slide here, so just to reflect on the timeline, so seeking approval from yourselves today to go out and make this publicly available, releasing it on the 15th of April, and so if our public feedback period starting on the 15th of April and commencing on the 17th of May. Couple of World Cafe sessions there on the 7th and 9th of May, and remember that feedback that we receive will then come back to you on the 13th of June in order for us to finalise and adopt an annual plan on the 27th of June. And so we are, in this whole process, not limiting in any way the type of feedback that people, wish to send in. You can email, you can fill in a submission form, you can go on to Let's Talk. So all the ways that people have been able to provide feedback in the past will be available again for everybody. So I think that's the end of the presentation there, and happy to take any questions.
Based on this timeline, when will we review the budgets and affirm the decisions made or I had to write it down because I'll forget. So when will we review the budgets and affirm decisions made or do we adjust them if needed based on the cost to date and the challenges you mentioned in your presentation? The decisions on what we decided on the LTP. So when do we do that? And is the financial strategy that you talked about also, is that adjustable? And as discussed at my O&M meeting last week, and with Thomas's monthly updates of our financial position, which as you rightly said is now 9 months, already we are behind with some of the capital works programs, and carry forwards of the big moves will move into the 2019-2020 year, which you also highlighted. So are we at level 3 or 4 in your levels? So if we have major changes in costings, say for the aquatic centre, Shimpic, the museum, etc., do we need to do LTP alterations, or do we just stick to what we decided in the LTP and the project, i.e. the projects that we had signed off in June, that we had signed off in June last year? Do we just sign them off, and the financial strategy is a different issue altogether?
These were all very detailed, covered off in our workshops. So that's the financial strategy, but it might be worth you taking us through it. I'm not sure if you were there, Councillor. Well, you see, that's the difficulty, because we all were. I've got it all written down very clearly from that day. But would you like to just give us a quick run through? I don't want the workshop detail. We had that in great detail. Thank you.
So my apologies. I did think that this question may come up, but I didn't bring any of the notes from all the previous workshops. So yeah. I guess the theme of the LTP, as Una has gone into, is the annual plan is a continuation of the long-term plan, but recognising the challenges that we're facing in this financial year, in particular with our capital works program and some key projects that are being delayed into the next financial year. And so what we've done is modelled the annual plan. Predominantly the LTP has been the basis, and then we've adjusted the capital works program to take into account the changes that we're seeing as a result of this year. So as you'll recall last week, this year we're anticipating to spend approximately 15 million less in our capital works program, and you'll see in the proposed plan for next year, there's roughly 15 to 16 million more than what was planned against the LTP. There's an anticipated reduction in debt in this financial year as a result of that capital works being deferred, and we're seeing that transfer of debt into the next financial year as well. So overall, we're still within the parameters of the financial strategy that's set out in our long-term plan. You're aware that obviously we've had some challenges around some of our operating expenses and so forth, but the annual plan is well within the realms of the financial strategy that's set out in the long-term plan.
Okay, and Councillor Gould, then Councillor Donaldson.
Madam Chair, with the information coming out next Monday on the 15th of April, will that include the targeted rates in that document, what the proposed targeted rates are?
Yes, in the document there is a page on your rates, and there's a paragraph or two about what the new targeted rate for Rotorua residents will be.
Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you, Worship. My apologies because during the workshop I was at Regional Transport, so I wasn't there. And I don't know if I can talk about the interactive document that we've got that's confidential, but my question is just around development contributions, which was highlighted in the LTP, as my understanding, and it's up for public engagement as part of this process.
No.
It's not?
Can I
It's
interject
rates.
there through
Yep.
the chair? So it's not up for public debate. So in the document there is an update on development contributions. So development contributions, or the introduction of one, was one of the, I guess, key policy proposals in the long-term plan. We do not have a proposal around a DC policy at this stage.
Yeah.
That is being worked on and would have to come back to yourselves when we have a draft proposal of any sort, and that would require its own special consultative procedure.
Thank you for that clarification. So it won't be part of the annual plan. Okay.
Right, are there any further questions for clarification? Councillor Bentley?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The rate increase that we're proposing, are you aware, or is members aware that the superannuants recently had a 1.5% increase in their pension? Many of them just can't afford this type of increase, which is well above inflation. And I think that consideration should be given to those people in that position.
It was a workshop discussion at some length, and I'm not sure if you were there, Councillor Bentley, but if you recall, for that very reason, we asked our financial officer to come back with a rates increase that was lower than what was in year 2 of the long-term plan, and he has done just that. So that is why we're going out on 4.9% instead of 5.1. Do you want to speak to that at all, Thomas? No.
Madam Chair, yes, affordability was a big discussion at our workshops. It
Yes.
was, because we do have families on, really low incomes, and some of those are fixed in terms of if they're on a benefit, and so affordability was a big issue.
And I'm sure when we go out, that will be a discussion point.
Madam Chair, why are we having these discussions in workshops rather than around this table to set the parameters of where we're heading with the rate increase? I think it should be transparent around this table.
They all came back to Oh no, could you
So
not argue it?
the debate between workshops and committee meetings has been an ongoing one for probably about the last 6 years now. Back in 2013, the council did agree, and it was then reviewed again in 2016, that workshops were a vital way and tool for elected members to be able to prepare and discuss, work on policy, review set direction, have those free and frank conversations, and set, I guess, direction for staff to go off and prepare based on those conversations. And that's what we've done. And bringing that back today is then culminates in an annual plan discussion engagement document to go out for public, get public feedback on.
Public information. And that was the mechanism we agreed. They were very robust and a good level of participation. Right, I call now for a mover that Council approve the information consultation document for the annual plan 219-220 for public consultation. Thank you, Councillor Rotorua. Seconded, Councillor Hunt. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Carried. Thank you. And thank you, Urina, and the staff, and all of you. This has been a long process. and very lengthy and very, very detailed. And we've looked at variations, we've looked at what you can do with fluctuations, we've looked at almost the old flipper that we saw, and we have settled on this as our shared document to go out to the public. The interactive one will be very interesting, so it'll be interesting to see the number of hits on that. Yeah. Yes.
Are you expecting elected members to participate on the 7th and the 9th? Or is that solely just for the members of the public?
No. We would like to see as many elected members as possible who can attend that to be there. This is an opportunity for yourselves to hear feedback from the community. I'm not 100% sure those are sitting in your calendar at the moment. Was kind of waiting on the decision from today as to going out for feedback, so we will get those into your calendars.
No? Well, I declare our meeting closed. Thank you.